I'm interested in anything that has to do that's going on in the trucking industry. And one of the things that everyone's talking about these days are the autonomous trucks. Now, I've been mildly interested in that, not too much so, because I think the technology is so far away. I don't really think it'll come to anything big in our generation. I think they'll experiment with it and play with it, but the infrastructure really isn't there to do these autonomous trucks well. So I don't think that's going to change in our near future. So I really haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to it, but I do follow it. And some of the saner minds are now coming to the guys like Elon Musk and saying, well, you know, how's the truck going to do this, or how's it going to do that? And the one executive has finally owned up and said, well, we're not building trucks to back into loading docks. Well, that's a big part of the trucking industry. So what they're saying is they're designing trucks that can go from point A to point B on the highway by themselves, and that's all they can do. And the whole rest of the lot of it, they can't do. And they're starting to admit that they're going to need the human factor once it gets to a city to deliver or to load or to unload or whatever. So now they're starting to talk about what they're calling transfer station or transfer points. And their idea is that they'll have a terminal for these autonomous trucks to land in. Say they're coming into Phoenix. They'll have one of these terminals for the autonomous trucks to land in, where the autonomous truck will pick up a driver. The driver will take the truck into Phoenix, unload, reload the thing, bring it back out to the transfer station, and then they'll point it on its way back towards Tucson or wherever it needs to go after that. So they're going to have the human factor involved with the truck once it gets into the big cities. So I thought, you know, that's getting interesting, and it sounds a little more common sense to me. So maybe this is where we should start to be looking at this seriously. Now, the mega carriers have beaten the crap out of the over-the-road drivers wage-wise. It's gotten to the point abusive. It's abusive. But if we started fresh as truck drivers with these new transfer points, and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it anyway, and I'll get to why. But if we were to have a unionized group of drivers, and there's the word I hate, unionized, but it's for the driver's protection. So they were all paid by the hour from the time they got to the transfer station. They picked up the truck, they took it into the city, they unloaded it, they reloaded it, and brought it back to the transfer station. All of this was by the hour, every hour by the hour. And sadly, these days, the only way you could really patrol that is to have the drivers unionized so they didn't get screwed. I'd want a government oversight committee to patrol and watch this to make sure that nobody was cheating the system and nobody was beating the drivers out of their money. But if these guys could just work out of these transfer stations, they could be at home every night, go into work in the daytime, be by the hour, deliver a couple loads, one or two, and take the trucks back and send them on the way to their next highway destination. That might be a way to solve a whole lot of problems for the driver. They couldn't get stiffed on their pay. They'd be home every day, which those are two huge things for the over-the-road driver. So there might be some real advantages here to us with these autonomous trucks coming in. If we can control the situation as to how we're employed and how we're used, not let the mega carriers handle the driver pools, because you know what they'll do to them. They'll bid one off against the other and try to get it done as cheaply as possible. And that's why I say we need a union, and we need government oversight to control the union, because you can't really trust them after what the Teamsters pulled. And just have the whole thing legislated and controlled properly so we had rights, and just deliver by the hour, work by the hour. At the end of our 8 or 10 hours or whatever they want to allow us, we're back at the transfer station. If it runs into a little bit of overtime, we get paid the overtime. We're still patrolled for hours of service and that type of thing, and just let the trucks do the over-the-road stuff. Drivers could have a better life by being at home every night, being paid fairly. Now, the romance of the open road would be gone, of course, but it's long gone anyway. The mega carriers are taking the money and the fun out of it. So why not live a decent, clean life as a driver, be home every night, and make a decent, fair paid wage? And I don't see anything wrong with that. But I think if we're going to do this, we got to put some thought into it, and we've got to get on this bandwagon early before the big mega carriers try to organize their own driver pools for these transfer stations and then try to dominate the drivers once again, and then that job won't be worth doing for anybody. It may be a chance to redefine truck drivers, who we are, what we do, how we're paid. We can maybe change and repair the whole structure and the whole picture here. Put some thought into this. Start thinking about this. Let me know your thoughts. But I'd be curious for any input that you could possibly have here, because I see a potential scenario for getting driving back as a decent job, a well-paying job again, and home every night. And I think those points are huge, and I think we might be able to work with something like that. So give it some consideration. Just my thoughts for the day. Keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you on the backhaul.